any immediate or future repercussions. I don't believe Dad was aware of this advice. He would tell a joke, usually laughing while he told it, and he wasn't paying attention to his surroundings. So he'd often knock over his drink or trip over a tree root or bump into something like a tree or a bird bath. And when we recall an event or we feel, touch something, memories can be triggered. So here's the one memory I'm going to share with you. Recently, it was necessary for me to get dentures. And when I think or see dentures, I don't have memories of the money I spent or the time I spent in the dentist chair. I think about Dad. Years ago, my boys, Mark and Blake, when they were little, and I and Dad, we went by GO train to the Royal Winter Fair. My kids were young, rowdy, and didn't listen very well, often not at all. On the train, Dad and Mark sat beside one another on the bench, and Blake stood in front of Dad, facing him. And I kind of helped Blake study. The boys were always up to something, and I could tell they had a secret plan. The train was crowded and a little noisy, and that's when it happened. Loud and clear, asks Blake, says, "Papa, show us your teeth." It was as loud as if he was using a megaphone. "I don't think so," Dad says. "Just loud enough to be heard. Not now, maybe later." Dad knew he better give in, though, before they embarrassed him in front of all of those people on the train. So Dad pushed his top dentures forward about a centimeter, and they laughed like as if they'd never seen this done before. Then next, a louder voice. Mark says, "No, Papa, bigger," meaning he wants them out farther. Right, so Dad, red in the face, pushes his teeth out just a little further, and they laugh. And I look around, and people are now paying attention to all of us. And some are smiling, and some are, cringing. So I tell them, that's enough. But I guess it wasn't enough. Because Blake stood in front of Dad like this, and he says, somewhere on here, he says, more again. And then Mark, he's the little angel, right? He puts his hand like this and he says, "Please, pretty please." So Dad was getting fed up by that time. So he pushed his teeth out the one last time and they flew out. Just missed Blake, went onto the floor clattering, and then rolled between someone's feet. I wasn't picking them up. They definitely weren't because they were wet and gross. But anyways, I did so. But sort of what I learned from this was taking risks like that often backfire, especially when it comes to Dad. And who knows, maybe this backfire syndrome is hereditary. Regardless, today I'm not taking any risks. So in order to avoid something from landing in your guys' laps, I am not wearing my upper dentures. So that's my memory, but it's Dad's story. Gotta love him.
In 1960, becoming two of the original residents of the Village in Westfield, where they resided until their death in 2022. Dad worked at Colgate-Palmolive Prudential Insurance, and then he retired from the TTC after 30 years of driving streetcars and buses. Mom was a dedicated, trustworthy, and knowledgeable employee. Her admirable work ethic offered her steady employment in senior office positions until her decline in health deemed it necessary for her to retire much earlier than anticipated. After I graduated from high school, Mom encouraged me to accept a junior position in her workplace. She became my mentor. Her expertise and mentorship in office administration was instrumental to ensuring success in my workplace today. Each year, Mom and Dad took a trip. Dad's favorite trips were to Burke's Falls, Wasaga Beach, Manitoulin Island, and Disneyland. Go figure. Mom loved trips across Canada and into the southern states. If a town or city had a beach, Mom loved it. She would love soaking up the sun. Probably that's where I got it from. Preferably on an ocean beach. Can you believe that not once in their lives did they fly in a plane? Regardless of the occasion or setting, each loved to dance, listen to music, and entertain. When they had fun, they made sure we had fun too. Friday nights after dancing away at the Glen Eagles Hotel, sorry, I have a very shaky voice. Dad's late night fried egg sandwiches or bacon cheese strings were enjoyed by the whole family.
They'd wake us up.
In '86, Mom and Dad purchased a neglected fisherman's waterfront cottage, which a lot of you have been to, later referred to as their lakeside home. In the '90s, they did major cottage renovations with the help of family, friends, and a number of contractors. How am I doing?
Good.
Local home hardwares knew them by their first names.
That's not a lie.
Friends and family enjoyed camping, celebrations, campfires, small town life at their cottage. After Dad retired, Mom and Dad spent a lot of time there, never tiring of the view and lake activities. In their early 80s, with failing health, we sold their cottage over 30 years. Sad but necessary. Okay. Yeah, no. Dad loved to build and fix things. Sorry, this is about my dad now. Dad loved to build and fix things, work with wood, twice daily walks with the dog, a shot or two of rye whiskey on ice with a little Coke, and of course, a smoker tube. He liked to tease and tell jokes, as we all know. He loved animals, kids, nature, his family, and relatives, and of course, his sweetie of many years, our mom. He was one of the best storytellers on this planet, and I'm sure you've heard at least one or two of them.
Dad was our neighborhood go-to handyman, whose friendly and humorous personality could bring a smile or a chuckle to even the saddest face. He easily chatted and joked to anyone who crossed his path. Dad was a generous man. His garage and cottage sheds, if you've ever seen them, were full of a huge assortment of tools that anyone could borrow. Needless to say, Dad and his tools were often a package deal, because he would tag along with those tools. Now I've lost my space with that. When in the front yard he's out having a cigarette, dogs being walked, no word of a lie, they would wildly pull at their leashes to get to my dad, because they knew that in his front pocket there was a treat, and that he'd give them a back scratch. And to this day, dogs still come up to our porch, and I don't know, I'm not always out there to give them a treat, but they still come, treats or not. All right, you. Oh, yes, I forgot that one. I remember this. He once won our newspaper's award for Neighbor of the Year in the Toronto Star. They came and they took his picture and they wrote a little story about him helping out his widowed neighbor from across the street. She had written to the paper about him. And I don't know if we have a copy downstairs or not. I thought we did, but anyways, it was.
A kid at heart, Dad enjoyed providing opportunities for anyone's kids to have fun. He often chauffeured neighborhood kids to fun outdoor events, swimming in Highland Creek, skipping stones, tobogganing at Missouri Town, hikes in the woods, batting balls for us to catch, and afterwards ice cream at Dairy Queen. Our dad, puppet to his grandkids, was the most amazing puppet ever.
He so enjoyed taking time to teach and entertain Mark, Blake, Ken, and Kristen, whether it be about fishing, swimming, building birdhouses, lots of birdhouses, or a tree fort, which they just pushed each other out of. Pushing them on a tire, he forgot the
Mark
water.
and Blake tried setting it on fire one day.
That should put eyes on it. Pushing them on a tire swing, and then he'd even clear off the river somewhat so that they could go skating. And building fires, he was a pro. Wheelbarrow rides, walks along the bluffs, pushing them endlessly on park swings, and pulling in a little trailer behind the our garden tractor at the cottage doing figure eights, and the kids loved it. And he did the same for his great-grandchildren.
One of the Dad's best kept secrets from our mom was that when he was alone with the grandkids in his Suburban, he would let them steer or even drive Kristen, this big, drive up the cottage road or on the driveway. He was their hero. He is our hero, our role model, teaching us that humor, compassion, friendliness, respect, generosity, and always doing our best are characteristics found in outstanding people.
There's always so much to say about Dad, and as we got thinking, we found there's a lot to say about Mom too. Mom was our rock, she was our protector. When life went sideways, she was always our go-to person. Her hugs, kisses, and a sit-down chat were often just what we needed to put things right. She didn't like to feel left out, and she became our good sounding board for me and Deb. After these talks, she would usually give us her idea of what went wrong and then give us her advice. Of course, when we were younger, we thought this advice to be old-fashioned, and sometimes we even roll our eyes, but begrudgingly, we realized that she was often right. Mom was known to run a tight ship at home, but she was fair, and boy, she didn't like a dirty or untidy home. When I was younger, I believed her motto to be clean and tidy, that's the way. One day, after asking me numerous times to clean my room, she finally gave up. She stood me in front of my bedroom door. It was one of those folding doors. And she slammed this big piece of paper on it with a note. And it said, what did she say? She said, "I'm too busy to deal with your mess." And then she tapped the note and she said, "And you're too busy to be organized." And that sign was there for months. And she was right to this very minute. I'm still unorganized.
That sign should still be there.
I hid it.
You go for it.
Mom enjoyed reading, gardening, knitting, crochet, sewing clothes for us and our dolls. She made us some really neat clothes, dresses that twirled out really wide. We thought we were special. Remember those orange ones? And putting oil paint to canvas. She liked to paint. And sun tanning, of course, whenever she could. She loved to teach and offer tips about her interest to friends and neighbors and families. Mom's favorite pastime was to watch, sorry, my lips are so dry, was to watch, in her opinion, the world-revered, never-ending saga, The Young and the Restless. For years, I set my phone alarm for 4:15 p.m. every Monday to Friday so that I had time to stop what I was doing to put her global TV station on. She also liked to read The Inquirer, enjoying all the gossip in the entertainment sector, and later on, even the politics. Later in life, she became the queen of scratch bingo cards. Hundreds of them. Hundreds of them. Never paid for themselves, of course. Mom loved it when we, do you want to do a drink?
Mom loved it when the three of us, three girls, did things together. For example, dancing and listening to music while completing chores. My girls know that whenever I do chores, Garth Brooks is usually on, very loud. From making curtains or nursing uniforms to mending clothes or repairing gazebo netting. Together we took craft classes, ceramic classes, counted calories, or carbs, joined every weight loss program there is, and exercise classes. In later years, she enjoyed sharing stories with the two of us. Mom would babysit her grandchildren, nieces, nephews in earlier years, neighborhood kids. She encouraged outdoor play. If stuck indoors, Mom loved to draw sketches of animals, birds, and flowers for the kids to color. Or they would bake together and later eat the treats they had made and decorated. She took time to coach softball and was a brownie leader.
Mom's grandchildren felt she was a very special Nana. She bandaged their cuts, wiped their tears, loved their hugs, kisses, and the back scratches they gave her. She looked after them on numerous occasions and was always interested and involved in their lives. Together they enjoyed baking, gardening, puzzle building, sing-songs, practicing and then demonstrating their new dance moves that she'd teach them, playing cards, dominoes, board games, dinky cars. They'd be playing, she'd be making like big hills for them to run them down. And she also liked, they played dress up, most often with the dolls, stuffed animals, and action figures. And of course, they would go for walks along the railway track, searching for turtle eggs, playing catch, croquet, and campfires. She was a wonderful Nana, even if she refused to catch frogs, right? We learned a lot from Mom, and we did a lot with Mom. She helped us both with our newborn growing children. She taught us how to take care of ourselves and those who came into our lives. Mom had a number of lifelong health issues. About 12 years ago, Mom came to live with me. I knew she had a sense of humor before that, but I never realized how hilarious she could be. She was funny. Back then, Mom developed tremors and shakes on her right side, mostly in her right hand. And these symptoms later spread to her left side. But regardless of her pain and poor health, she laughed at the antics of this right hand, as it would thrash about. She called it her wonky hand, which without warning would lash out, sending her glasses or coffee flying across the room. She was a determined woman. Mom persevered. She learned to eat, print, and sketch with her left hand. Ill as she was, she maintained the traditional role of mother. Some of Mom's medications made her drowsy, yet when her eyes were closed, she still had those mother ears. Even in my 50s and 60s, Mom still gave me a firm talking to if she thought that I was misbehaving, cussing, or rude, especially if she thought I was misbehaving behind her back. Bad, Cheryl. In more recent years, Mom's COPD and arthritis got severe, and she required a wheelchair to move around, and she later became housebound. She never stopped trying or believing that she could do better. Kudos to you, Mom. Love you. Hug, kiss, hug, kiss.
Mom and Dad were and still are loved and respected by many family and friends and neighbors. Sharing their talents, their compassion, and willingness to help others made them one of the most exceptional couples anyone could ever want in their life. Our family would like to take this opportunity to thank all the healthcare workers who have looked after Mom, especially the PSWs that assisted her on a daily basis for over 10 years. We appreciate the smiles, giggles, care, and love you shared with Mom, whether helping her scratch her bingo cards with her dimes that were under the mat,
Still have them. There's 3 of them.
folding Kleenexes. All the PSWs would sit there and fold them, boxes and boxes, so that she could grab them, making her special lunches, and at times tolerating being bossed about. It meant the world to her.
We are fortunate to have had our parents guiding and loving us and our families for so many years. Our parents were amazing people who brought so much joy, fun, and love to our world. We're very sad that they have left, but we are happy that they are together in their new Ron and Wilda's place, which is a sign that they had outside of the cottage. You've probably seen it in the pictures.
Rest in peace, Mom and Dad. You left us with good, happy memories.
Always know that you are loved, now and forever. Hug, kiss, hug, kiss. We're done.